department once for state licensing. That is, it kind of goes through those criteria of what you have to, those exit doors have to look like, it goes into kind of sizing and escape routes and that kind of thing.
And as far as the one room also is, the parents would have to come through the house to get to that room, or how?
I'd probably defer that one to the applicant. I believe so, but I'm not entirely sure on that one.
And they'll need to have a bathroom and possibly the kitchen too.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and hear from the applicant then. Thank you, Charles.
My name is Felicity Day.
Oh, please raise your right hand. That's okay. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that you would tell the truth in this proceeding before the Planning and Zoning Commission? I'm sorry, could you speak into the mic?
Yes.
And could you state your name and address?
Felicity Day, 4825 South Delaware Street. Applying for the conditional use permit for a small in-home family childcare. There's a difference. There's many different licenses through the state in order to get licensed for an in-home daycare. And there's small, large, yada, yada, yada. Unfortunately, the large is not permitted within zoning, so it is a small, and that is a maximum of 6 children, ages 2 through 18 years, if I really wanted to. And then there's only, I'm only allowed to have 2 children under the age of 2. That is state law. I am licensed. Licensing is coming out tomorrow to inspect the property and make sure everything's to code. What other questions did you guys have? I have 2 children of my own. One just turned 1, and the other one is 2.5. So I'm only allowed to have 4 children. 1 child can only be under the age of 2. Parents will come through the front door to the back room. That room has 4 or 5 windows lining the back. I have my full emergency and exit plan here, if you need to see that. What else? Actually, at my hours, 7 to 5, we choose those as business owners. And I make the hours work for my life as well. And I think 7 to 5 is more than fair. Also, this is only operating from Monday through Friday. No weekends, no overnights. And that's about it. The space is ready to go. All I need is your approval, licensing approval tomorrow, and then I open on the 19th of August.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you envision, like if, when people are dropping off their children, what that would look like, or what space they would use for that?
Yeah, so drop off, obviously parents pull up to the house, get their kids out, knock or ring the doorbell. The door's locked at all times. And then I would open it and they would walk to the back of the house where I have a personal space where kids can drop off their stuff, their backpacks, whatever they may have. Parents say goodbye, have a great day, and they walk out the front door.
And then would they use your driveway for that, or just kind of pull out up front?
Either or. Like you said, we have a driveway that goes all the way back on the back of the property, and so they can pull in the driveway, they could pull up to the front of the house.
Is there a difference in the number of children you can have if they're just before and after school, or are you limited just to 4?
Yes, so with a small family childcare home, I could have 6, and then I could have 2 additional children before and after school, and that needs to be in school, so like kindergarten, full day kindergarten through 12th grade. And I don't think I'm going to do that, just because my focus is on early childhood education. A little bit about my background. I have been doing this for 10 years. preschool teacher for 10 years, and it's just time for me to open up my own so I could be home with my kids and do it at the same time.
Can you speak at all to the need for early childcare providers in the area?
Thank you so much for bringing this up. Okay, so this is a huge passion of mine, and same with my colleague that joined me. So there is this company that I joined called My Village, and I don't know if anybody have heard of that before. They are a huge working force, trying to get small or in-home childcares out there because the childcare crisis is huge throughout the entire country. Trying to get a child, on a wait list for any other daycare facility out there can take up to a year, if not more. So the need for quality education, early child education, and we're not babysitters, we're not sitting kids in front of TVs all day. I'm teaching, is huge. And the response I've got just now, before I'm even open, I'm giving tours and making interviews, that my program would probably be full by the end of the month.
What other questions we have for the applicant? Down here?
Just one. You've been a preschool teacher for 10 years, and you want to continue this. Oh, bless you.
I prefer to work more with children than adults. For obvious reasons.
You have your hours of operation 7 to 5. Most people work to 5. So wouldn't that be like 7 to 6, 6:30 or 6, something like that?
So there are many people that work longer hours, and unfortunately, they would have to find other means of childcare. There's a lot of daycares that stay till 6 or 6:30 p.m., but for me and my family, that just would not work.
I drove by there just to make sure there's fencing and whatnot around the front. A lot of kind of toys and swing out in front. But you wouldn't be using the front yard for the daycare?
Nope.
Okay.
My yard is for my children only when children are not there. So outside time specifically takes place in the backyard.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Oh, I got a curious thing. It might have been discussed, or I might have missed it. The application is for 1 year?
Yes.
Why is that? Is that a limit, or is that a?
Yeah, so that's just what the conditional use permit is it's a year permit, and then after the year is over, they go back and reevaluate. There's another $25 fee for whatever that might be for, and then it continues on for another year. So I think the permit is just based yearly.
Did you buy the house from Inglewood?
No, the previous owner did.
Okay.
And then we bought it from them in 2016.
Thank you. So now we have an opportunity for any public testimony, and if there's any public present who would like to provide their input on this case. And we limit comments to 3 minutes each. Does anyone want to come forward? Nancy will swear you.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that you will tell the truth in this proceeding before the Planning and Zoning Commission? Please state your name and address.
My name is Susan Abruzzo, and I live directly north of Felicity at 4819 South Delaware Street. Since they've moved in, their family has probably been one of the best families we've had in our neighborhood. They're always friendly, always talking to everybody. They have their kids outside. Yes, they're in the front, usually in the evenings because it's too hot in the back. The rest of the time, they are in the backyard, and the way that they have the backyard set up, they have a playground type thing, structure for all the kids to play with. She's smart. I mean, when it comes to the kids and stuff and what she does with them, the way she teaches them, even though I've only seen it with her own children, I would say by far, if my kids were age appropriate to go to her daycare, I would definitely do that. My kids are a little bit older, and we did try some in-home daycare as well as churches, and when Clayton had their program, we also did that program. The biggest thing that I really appreciate out of Felicity is the fact that she's not a babysitter. You know, she's not going to put them in front of a TV or something like that. She's made it very well known that she wants to have some type of curriculum for the kids to be able to actually be learning something, you know, even at a young age before they're even into school. So I fully support Felicity and her family and what they want to do as far as the in-home family daycare. I think it's a great idea. I think she does. She has a lot of people who are willing, you know, to bring their kids, who have come and visited. You know, there's been quite a few people that I know have said, yes, you know, this would be good. This is something that fits my needs. And I do know that they're having a really hard time finding places for a lot of the kids in Inglewood to kind of fit in. I know there's waiting lists. You know, again, my kids are older, but you know, my sister has younger kids, a couple of my sisters actually do. So just seeing what they've had to do to try to get their kids placed in a daycare, it's pretty strenuous for any family. So to have that availability, to have one more option, I think is great. That it? All right.
Would anyone else like to come forward this evening?
Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that you will tell the truth in this proceeding before the Planning and Zoning Commission?
I will.
Please state your name and address.
I'm Jamie Kochever. I do not live in Inglewood. I'm at 7454 West 83rd Avenue in Arvada, Colorado.
I'm sorry, what is your address again?
7454 West 83rd Avenue, Arvada, Colorado, 80003. I am here, I work for My Village, which is a franchise that helps daycare, family childcare home providers open up their family childcare home throughout the state of Colorado and other states. Their push is to create a spot for every child in need of childcare. And I can tell you, I've worked with the state licensing department for many years as well. And since 2010, there has been over 7,000 home providers who have, or 7,000 spots for kids that have been lost. The state has family childcare home providers closing at a rate of 150 a year, which is a huge impact, and there's a huge crisis, not just in Colorado, but across the nation for childcare. And as you know, if anyone has young children, there's an up to 2-year wait to get an infant into childcare, and by then they're 2, and you don't necessarily need that same care. In walking through this process with Felicity, Inglewood has made it incredibly difficult on her to open a family childcare home. I know there are others in Inglewood. They may not live in the R1A district, but the process has been incredibly difficult. And I know that if anyone else would want to open a home, they probably would have given up long before this process. She's been a trooper, and she really is passionate about her business, and she really is passionate about teaching kids. But I urge you guys to look at the process for family childcare home, even just in R1A. I understand it's a different process outside of those districts, but in R1A, it's just been difficult. And I work with many other counties across the state, and Inglewood is one of the most difficult so far, and the fees are the highest. And in looking at her property compared to other family childcare homes across the state, the street is huge. The traffic impact would be minimal, even if there was cars coming and parking. The street is very wide, so I don't see it being an impact at all to the community other than positively. Thank you.
And any other members of the public? Okay. Do we have any additional questions or any rebuttal or additional information from staff or from the applicant?
Not at this time unless you have any questions.
All right. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Seeing no further comments, I'd make the motion to close the public hearing.
Got it?
All right, Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Fuller?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Patinos? Mr. Freemeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Kenton?
Yes.
And Chair Townley?
Yes. Okay, do we have a motion on the table? And I just wanted to, reiterate, this is a decision by the Planning and Zoning Board, not a recommendation to City Council. So this will be our decision rather than moving it forward. Anyone want a formal motion?
I make a motion to approve the applicant's request for conditional use for family child care home.
And that include the recommendations from staff, the 1, 2, and 3, the conditions?
Yes, including the recommendations from staff regarding the compliance with the 2015 IRC Appendix M, compliance with the annual inspection required for conditional uses, and the maximum of 4 children unrelated to the property owner at a given time.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. Anyone want to open discussion?
Sure, I will. First of all, thank you. I have to say, I was honestly surprised when we got this as a public hearing. It seemed, I've only been on planning and zoning for a year and a half, and I thought, why is this even coming to us, to be honest? So at least now I understand why. I would think that R1A would be the ideal location for in-home child care because you have a 9,000 square foot lot. But anyways, that's not mine to decide. I just thought I'd give my editorial comment. I think this is I know from my own grandchildren and from young clients who live in Englewood how difficult it is to find good child care in our area, and I commend you for going through whatever you've had to go through to make it this far. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate you being a good neighbor as well. My comment, and I'm absolutely 100% a yes.
Any other discussion, or we want to go ahead and call the vote?
I just have a couple comments. Number one, Judy, I'm shocked that you're actually a grandmother. How do you do that at 32
Oh,
years
you're,
old?
I don't know what you want from me, but okay. You got it.
32 years old, you must have been a child bride. Amazing. Secondly, and this is just an aside, my editorial comment, I've never done well asking for people for something and telling them I don't like the process that they have. Okay? Not a good thing. Generally speaking, I won't disagree with you. Third, I think it's a great project. I commend you for doing it.
Let's go ahead and call the vote.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Fuller?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Patinos? Mr. Freemeyer?
Yes.
Sorry. Mr. Kenton?
Yes.
Chair Townley?
Yes, I feel as though the application meets all the requirements of the conditional use permit and will not create any negative impacts on the surrounding properties and the surrounding community, and will also fill a need in the area. So yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you. Okay. So next we'll move on to agenda item with communications. And Mike, that is something you wanted to address.
Yeah, I actually brought this up, and just a matter of governance, actually, is what I'd like to call it. And I've seen this a couple times before from various commission members, and we're all entitled to our opinion. And generally speaking, I'd like to have a discussion about this if we may. And where this came up was if we vote as a board, whether we vote unanimously as we just did, and congratulations, we're looking forward to it. If we ever have grandkids, we'll bring them your way. I'll talk to my children about that. Probably not the right time.
You can contact staff.
Certainly. One of the concerns I have is whether we vote for something unanimously or whether we vote and two people dissent from that, we still voted as a commission. So whether we agree with any one commissioner's position of voting yes or no on a particular item, it goes, this is how it works when we vote. So if it's a 5-4 with 9 members present, it passes, or if it's 4-5, it fails. If it passes, it goes before the city council, and it could still go before the city council, whatever that particular item is, because the petitioner has the option to do that. What makes it especially difficult for the council is to make a decision to be able to say we have all access to all discussion and the notes, and now all the video. And so the city council could look at that and recognize, hey, that was a 5-4 decision, or a, 5-3, whatever it is, or a 3-5. And they'd also be able to see all the rationale behind it. What I think is difficult for every commissioner is to have letters to the city council written saying, let me be specific about why I voted no. First of all, I think it does two things. I think, number one, it diminishes this commission as a body, as a unified body, to say whether I like what happens or not is immaterial. That's what happened, that's the process. Maybe tomorrow's my day, or maybe today was my day and tomorrow's not. Number two, I think and I've seen this in multiple meetings, it's a groundswell of one. So we can go to a city council meeting, for example, and we can have a groundswell of one person who stands up and says, that absolutely is the wrong thing, blah, 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 okay? It puts us in a position where the astute council member will look at such things and decide that makes sense for them or it doesn't. But to write that additional letter or to have that additional dialogue with council, I think diminishes everybody else, and frankly, I think it diminishes the commissioner who does it. That's my opinion. It's like saying, it's not my president. Well, it is your president if you're a citizen of the United States. It's not my speed limit because I don't like 25. I didn't vote for 25 miles an hour on that road if I'm a city council member. That doesn't mean the police officer's not going to write you a ticket at 30 miles an hour. That is the law. That is the way it was voted in, whether that was a split decision by the council or not, or by this commission on any particular issue. So my point is, if we feel strongly about something, feel strongly about it here. But if we have a vote, we have a vote. And that's how we voted as a commission. That's my opinion. I wanted to bring it up. It was concerning. I've seen it a number of times. And I just think that it doesn't serve the community to move forward one way or another. It just gridlocks things. So I wanted to bring that up, and I'm open for discussion. I don't necessarily hold the right answer. I just hold the answer that I believe to be true.
Well, I appreciate you bringing it up. And I think it also, it underscores the importance to, especially when we're giving a vote, to really give what our thoughts are, why we're voting the way that we're voting, and have that on the record for everyone as well. And that's probably the most important place to provide that input. Because, yeah, you can go back and watch the video, listen to the tape and all that, and see individually why each commissioner voted the way they did. But, yeah, as a body, we have a vote one way or the other. Any other thoughts?
It might actually be a question. I know, sorry. I'm going to make you contribute here. When I first started on here, like the very first meeting, we had the chastisement from council, real fun moment. But I went to a big meeting about ex parte conversation. Now, is that an issue when we have voted? Should that, is that wrong? Is it fundamentally wrong against what we're supposed to be doing? I thought we were not supposed to be talking with council directly about, is that true? Or,
Well, it could be.
it was, I'm not a lawyer, so it's confusing to me.
It could be considered a ex parte communication. And it could be seen by outsiders as trying to influence a decision maker. That's why it's discouraged. Pretty much where I fall on the issue.
I just wanted to ask you, I've asked you about this before, a few years ago, actually, and I think the way you explained it to me is, we still, if we disagreed with the actions of the body, and I've never actually done this, but you said, you still have rights as a citizen, you could come, you could come before council and speak before them and say, this is what I believe, the group, decided differently, but this is what I believe, and, as long as you do it in a public forum and not whatever the Latin is.
Ex parte communication. I've thought that over again. I would discourage that. Honestly, if you're acting on the body, you've made a vote, you've sent that issue to, say, city council, I don't believe it's any different for you to come to a public hearing on the same issue and explain to them why you voted the way you did. It's really no different. Okay. If you send a separate email or you call up a council member and say, this is why I voted the way I did. It's still ex parte in a sense.
Okay.
You're doing it in a public forum. Yes,
Right.
but it still could appear like you're trying to influence the final decision.
Okay.
And I would just suggest.
What would be the best way then, if you have additional information that came to light after, what's the best way to get that to council? Appropriate?
The most appropriate way to get
Yes.
that information to council is to set forth the reasons why you voted at the time that you voted.
But what if you have additional information that comes to light after that?
You can't consider it. It doesn't matter. You voted one way, and if you have new information that comes to you after you voted, you cannot consider it. You've already voted.
No, I'm saying if you have new information to pass on to them, I think, I don't know, I might disagree with you here, and I might,
I understand that.
yeah.
That's fine. That's fine, but I honestly would not do that. New information, if you have new information, then I think instead of bringing that to council, especially after you've already voted as a board, you might want to bring it up to the board as a member's choice at the next proceeding and say, I have this new information, I just wanted to share it. But, yeah.
I think there has to be some format to bring that forward, but we'll push that forward.
I'd just like to add something. I want a case in point here, okay? So there's the council is in the position right now where they're considering short-term rentals, okay? And so they have asked staff to brief them on short-term rentals, specifically the discussions, in addition to what they've already received in their council packets, but the discussions and kind of a flavor of those discussions and how this body has discussed for the last year and a half short-term rentals or thereabout. Staff did ask if members of this commission would like to be present for that. And at the first meeting of consideration, just an informational discussion item, Chair Townley and I did attend that. Now, we did not have any input. We sat there dutifully, and we were there should there be anything. But I think in those cases, I think staff has already done a fine job of saying, look, these were the discussion points. This is where we had dissension, and these were some areas of consideration where it took us a long time to get through, and this is how the commission landed on where they landed, okay? Chair Townley and I have also agreed to be available at the next hearing, okay, or meeting that they have, where the study session, I guess they call it, where we would be present, and literally, we would be able to represent the discussion as it's written in the minutes and in the recommendation that moves forward. But that's how it's presented, and say, you know, we didn't have a unanimous, we had this, and this is why, and that, you know, right there it is, and we presented as such. So that way the council can see both sides of whatever issue within the overarching issue of the short-term rental. So just as an example, so it may not be Chair Townley and I at the next particular deal, whatever that is, but next particular issue of a study session, but if it's one of the rest of us, the expectation is we would act ethically and say, this is where the discussion was, these are the points that were most difficult to get through, and this is where the commission landed. And if they want to see it was a 5-4 or a, 4-3 or whatever, they can see that. Or if they want to see amendments that are there, we can say, well, these are the amendments we considered, and this is where the discussion went. But it's informational at that point, and it's a reiteration of that which is already in writing in front of them. And I would hope that you would trust the chair and the vice chair to be able to represent the commission in that fair and impartial manner, so that everybody's opinion gets there, and it's a reiteration of that which has already been considered, voted on, and it's basically done business for us, and it answers any questions they may have. Okay, so that's the type of presentation that should happen, and we should be able to go back and say, and based on the minutes, this is where we talked about it. Based on the recommendation, this is why we had 2 people vote no on this whole deal. They didn't like this. And I think that'd be an adequate representation. Anything shy of that, I think we'd be touting our own agenda, which may or may not be in conformance with what any one issue was within the major problem or major issue or something thereof. So I just think that's a better way to go. And that would be most appropriate, is if we just don't get outside of the bounds of what is already presented to council. Okay? So.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, we'll move on to staff's choice.
Staff has nothing tonight.
Attorney's choice.
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Commissioner's choice. Daryl, you want to start?
I can't think of anything. I think that I just want to make clear, I think Mike and I are talking about different things in general. I'm thinking more along the lines of tweaking things, and I think you're talking more about people having very different opinions from what the council came to, or what the commission came to. So I just thought I'd throw that out.
I just like, I don't even know how we go about it, but I don't think this should be, what happened tonight should be a conditional use for R1A.
Yeah.
I think it just ought to be whatever the other residential are. I don't know how we do that, but I think we should do whatever we got to do to make that go away. There you go. You tell me what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, what Judy said.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't have anything.
I just wanted to add to Judy's note. She mentioned how she couldn't apply for a larger one, but she seemed interested. And one day I want to have kids too, and I've always been thinking about that lately. Like, my friends that have kids, they say that their daycare is more than their mortgage, which makes me not want to have kids. But hearing that she's like all vivacious about opening up daycares in the area with early education, that was really cool to me. So I don't know if there's a way that Inglewood could work to help her get a bigger license. I know it wouldn't fit in her home, but just maybe keep that train moving. But that's it.
I agree. I think it'd be good to look into that and see what we can do to either streamline whatever's going on with the processes for childcare, and see, maybe they just were written many years ago and times have changed. So I think it's something to consider. Two things real quick. I just want to remind you that Nancy sent out the training videos. So is that right? I think that was sent to everyone. So if you need a refresher, anything like that, it's instead of doing an in-person boards and commissions training, you can watch the video at home at your leisure. And then also we did get a resignation from Adam that he will no longer be on the board. He has just too many other commitments right now. So.
Okay, thank you. The only thing I'd add, the lady who, I didn't write down her name, who spoke, who was critical of the city being more difficult to work with versus others. First of all, I have no idea whether that's true or not. But it seems to me that when you look at what the city council's goals are, which ultimately become our goals, it would seem to me that we should go through processes that we do and we require people to do, and we have discussion about how can we, either as a body or how could staff understand what are those specific concerns, what makes us more difficult or easier to work with than others as we try to improve Inglewood as a whole. And I think if there's something that needs to come before the body that makes sense that we remove to make things easier, to streamline processes, then if it's appropriate before this body, it should come before this body. If it's not, it should go before the city council with the rationale of helping the council and the city to reach its goals. And void of that, I think we just go through all sorts of regulations that were stemmed because somebody at some point in time did something that somebody didn't like that's never happened again. But now we've got a new form and a fee. So I bet you we can find those if we look. All right? So that's all I have to say about that.
Carl, do you have anything?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
Welcome, Carl. Good to have you on the board.
Thank you.
All right. I guess with that, we're adjourned.
Excellent meeting, Madam Chair.